And let's talk about Mr. Y.M. Deosthali's thoughts about macros right now as well. Stocks at about 89. Mr. Y.M. Deosthali is joining in, CMD at the company. Mr. Deosthali, thanks very much, sir. Great to have you with us here. Prashant this side. I want to first get your thoughts about what's happening in the Parliament session. There is about 8 working days left. Expectations running high after retail FDI got pushed through. But how do you see this session so far? Would you rate this as being constructive? Surely it's not a washout. But what's your sense?
Well, definitely this is much more constructive than the last one. This FDI retail that has sent some signals to the external world, and I think one important thing is the opposition is saying that we will have constructive debate, and also Parliament will function. That in itself is an extremely welcome step, because last session was a complete washout. So considering that, this is definitely welcome, and there are a number of legislations which are pending. Some of them are very crucial, and if we find that in the next 8 days or so, at least a few of them are tabled and passed or cleared, that will be a very, very good thing. Particularly insurance, pension, banking, these are all economic areas, and I think these have been pending for quite some time. So if the government is able to bring about some kind of unanimity or approval to these, it will be an extremely good signal to the external world. They are quite important legislations. If you take insurance, for example, or pension, they are very vital for the growth of the economy, because if you broaden the insurance market, if you get more FDI into the country, if one is able to therefore have more funds for deploying in the infrastructure sector, it helps the country tremendously, and I think nobody loses in this, because the control is not control doesn't go from the Indian entities. We get more FDI. Similarly is the case with pension. Our penetration in pension is extremely low, and that is also one more means of garnering long-term funds for the infrastructure sector, because the important point is that we need to build infrastructure, and that infrastructure in itself is not at the end, because it does a lot of other things. It generates employments, of course. It helps trade movement, it helps industrial activity. So I think from all angles it is important, and for that it's essential for us to have long-term funding, various avenues of long-term funding, and pension and insurance is also very important from that perspective. So I think if the government is able to get through some of these bills, it will be a very, very welcome step.
Mr. Deosthali, pension, insurance, FDI limit from 26 to 49. I know we've spoken about this in the past as well, but what would it do according to you? 26 to 49, or how much would it do?
It's not really a question of 26 to 49, because that is only one part of the story. There are other things which are also in the insurance bill. I think we can't only focus on 26 to 49. That is quite important. See, the other thing is that there are a lot of foreign players who are operating in India, and they are looking forward to this kind of change. Now 26 to 49 also brings about 2-3 important things. One is, of course, the money, the funding comes in. In addition to that, if they have a larger say in the Indian insurance market, it helps deepen the insurance market itself, because they will be able to focus much more than what they are doing today, and therefore I think it helps the sector and it helps the economy. So 26 to 49 is one of the steps, but along with that, in the insurance bill there are other provisions which also will be very useful. So I think it's essential for us to get the bill passed. 26 to 49 is incidental benefit, I should say.
What about the banking bill, sir? What's your sense there? What would it do? That's essentially the real high value item, at least from a stock market point of view.
That's also quite important, because apart from the fact that it gives additional powers to Reserve Bank of India for ousting the boards of banks which are not performing or which are not behaving, it also increases the voting power of the large shareholders. It also enables the public sector banks. It gives them two more avenues of funding. One is bonus and rights issues. So there are several things in this Banking Regulation Act and the other two bills which are also pending relating to that, which will help banks raise capital, because that's going to be the crucial aspect. If India has to grow, banks need to increase the capital. Apart from the needs of the economy, Basel III is also going to be there, and therefore public sector, private sector, all banks will have to raise capital. And from that point of view, to reduce the burden on the government as well as to enable banks to raise capital, this is very important. And of course, it helps Reserve Bank of India to kickstart the process of issuing new licenses, because new licenses are also important from the point of view of getting new entrants, additional capital, plus penetration in the rural market. So all in all, I think this is an extremely important legislation.
So without being company specific or what it would do and what you would do once new licenses can be issued by the RBI, the government enables the RBI to do that. I mean, how important is that, and what is the market for new licenses according to you? What's the opportunity as you see it? Because it's a stated aim at L&T Finance that you want to be a diversified financial services player. How do you see it?
I think there are a number of things in that. You know, the draft guidelines were issued last year, and the draft guidelines broadly define the intentions. So apart from the fact that new entrants will come in, additional capital will come in, because the threshold for capital also is quite large, and therefore only serious players will come into the market. It will help penetration. You know, in India, in the financial services sector, be it banking, insurance, mutual fund, in all the sectors the penetration still continues to be low if you compare India with other developed markets or even developing markets. So it helps penetrate, deeper penetration. There will be larger reach to rural India. So it will be possible for rural India to get credit. It will be possible for them to, it will have avenues for garnering the savings. It will also enable to distribute insurance products. So there are several angles to this, and therefore, and I think there is scope for additional players in this sector. It's not that the sector is saturated and therefore there is no scope for new players. So capital being an extremely important ingredient of this business, those who can continuously provide capital and enable the sector to grow, I think they should be welcome. And I think from all angles, this is a very important initiative.
Okay, that's essentially a couple of bills: insurance, pension, banking amendment, new licenses there. Mr. Deosthali, let's take a quick break, sir. Do stay with us. We'll come back in 2 minutes, continue our chat here. Welcome back. You're with us here on Opening Fire. 47 on the Nifty. We're at the day's high for 4,955. It's a very, very strong start. I mean, we've been trading for about 40 minutes now, and the market has just done one thing, which is trend higher. 170 points in the Sensex right now as well. It's the same pack which I mentioned earlier. Pharma led by Sun and Cipla, cement led by Ambuja and Grasim, and banks led by Axis Bank and HDFC, which are essentially leading this up move, I mean, point-wise, contribution-wise. You know, we were talking to Mr. Y.M. Deosthali, and he's with us, and we spoke about the insurance, pension, banking amendment, new licenses, etc., new banking licenses, etc., before we took that break. Mr. Deosthali, coming back to you, sir, what is your sense about growth? Do you think growth has bottomed out, or do you think there is more pain ahead?
I think if you consider the points which I made earlier on the infrastructure side, I am inclined to believe that growth has almost bottomed out now, and therefore going forward we should be, at least next year, we should be able to see about 6.5% kind of growth, if not 7, but 7 is a bit ambitious given the current situation, but 6.5 should be achievable. And if we see some momentum on the infrastructure side, then I think 6.5 should be reasonably achievable. We need to sort out some of the problems relating to mining and all, because those areas have been very badly affected in the recent past, particularly in states like Karnataka, Goa and Orissa. And that is also impacting some other industries like the construction equipment industry, the heavy commercial sector, because that impacts the movement of goods from the mines. So that is something which needs to be resolved quickly, otherwise mining sector is going to be a problematic sector for some more time, and which will have a cascading impact on some other sectors as well.
Got that, sir. One last question, Mr. Deosthally, about L&T Finance. Could you, and there's been a fair bit of interest from the stock market perspective as well, not to talk about that, but what's the vision at L&T Finance? What do you want to do? What do you want to achieve as you go into 2013? And I know you'd say I'm asking you about the new banking licenses, but my question is not just limited to that, but talk about your plans at the company, sir.
See, we have always said that we want to build a comprehensive financial services business, and therefore we have adopted the strategy of diversification. It helps us in managing our risk better, it helps us to manage the cycles better, and it also helps us to grow under various circumstances. So we are building a portfolio and business whereby we are able to manage risk at 3 different levels. So it's a business which is managed through development of skills. So skills to manage assets, skills to manage projects, and skills to manage balance sheets, understand balance sheets and give money based on that. So if you have skill sets like this, you can build a diversified portfolio. So initially when we started with income generating assets. Last year we entered with in a small acquisition, through a small acquisition, housing finance business, that is actually more financing of emotional assets, and then we made another small acquisition of auto financing, in the area of auto financing, that now through that we have entered the consumer financing space. So from income generating to emotionally important to consumer financing. So we are trying to cover the entire chain now, and this strategy should help us grow seamlessly. Our idea is to ensure that we grow consistently, and we avoid the peaks and the bottoms, in the sense that we do not want to have shocks for our customers, for our all the stakeholders. So it should be a consistent growth over a long period of time, and that's what we are attempting to do through this strategy. So all these acquisitions are important from that point of view, and we also want to have a balanced portfolio in terms of lending business as well as fee-based activities, and that's why mutual fund or wealth management businesses are important, and that is why this Fidelity acquisition was a very important step for us to consolidate in the AMC area. So all in all, I think it's going to be consolidating and growing to build a strong business portfolio which will enable us to have long-term healthy growth.
Mr. Deosthally, thanks very much, sir. Great to get that perspective from you. Appreciate it very much. 55 points on the Nifty, 5964.